Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Cook Inlet Tug and Barge is a marine transportation company specializing in harbor services with a primary marketing focus on the Port of Anchorage, providing their customers with quality-based service specifically tailored to their needs.
You can tell a lot about where a company is going by looking at where it's been. ConocoPhillips, Alaska's oil and gas company.
The National Weather Service.
Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us for Sunday's show. We've got some snow advisories out again, or remaining out here for the northern and southeast coast. 1 to 3 inches for overnight tonight, and these advisories out through tomorrow afternoon, where anywhere from 3 to 8 inches total could fall, and it'll be of the heavy wet variety. Especially from Juneau on down, the heavier amounts will be up toward Haines and then on up to Skagway. Otherwise, still have winter weather advisories here for gusty winds, gusty east-northeast winds as high as 35 to 40 miles an hour through the passes and higher elevations. That blowing snow with those winds could reduce visibilities to a half mile at times through those areas, and that's out until about 9 p.m. Wednesday or so. Tomorrow, or 9 p.m. Monday, tomorrow evening, and up there on the Arctic coast, winter weather advisory also, winds gusting in that 35, maybe as high as 45 miles an hour out of the east, and that'll reduce visibilities to a mile or less at times up there, and that one's scheduled to remain out also through 9 p.m. Monday. On yesterday's satellite image, we had a lot of rain moving into the southeast coast with some snow over the northern areas and Juneau on up to the north. The back edge of this moved through early last evening and kind of had a break overnight and into today. Had this moisture streaming northward here across Bristol Bay and into the interior. Otherwise, just a lot of clouds and flurries or areas of light snow in the central and eastern interior. Then a pretty strong frontal system yesterday anyway, almost storm force wind gusts out there at Shemya. That continued to move eastward throughout the evening hours and overnight, and actually today has spread some moisture into the Adak-Yatka areas, and earlier rain has now began over the Unalaska and even toward False Pass and Cold Bay, now picking up a little bit of rain and some snow up there around the Pribilofs, Lisa St. George, light snow on the outer edge of that moisture field. Otherwise, we've had leftover moisture come up into the southwest interior with areas of snow, along with some gusty winds in some locations. Huslia getting east winds is up to 30 miles an hour. And they're over at Kaktovik, that windy area on the Arctic coast there, gusts to 35 miles an hour. Lighter winds over the remainder of the Arctic coast with some areas of snow with that band of moisture right through there. Part of the system that came northward. Actually, that moisture, this one was up over Kotzebue Sound yesterday, the center of which has pulled off toward Wrangell Island. And again, break here occurring over the southeast coast overnight and this morning, but the next system already pushing moisture in to the coastal areas, and rain occurring, picking up areas of rain, fog, or drizzle this afternoon with kind of this warm front condition spreading in over the area, and still snowing at Skagway. Temperatures on the chilly side, Upland Canal and the Glacier Bay areas, but over an inch of rain falling down at Annette in the last 24 hours, and may pick up that much again in the next 24 hours. But just some variable clouds, areas of flurries over the interior, as you can see here on the chart. Some light snow, very light snow, just flurries over Northway up toward Eagle, and scattered back here over the southwest areas, a little bit more widespread, possibly heavier over the Kilbrook Mountain areas, but nothing amounting to very much at all. Just some flurries up along the Arctic coast and some gusty winds to go along with that. Still gusting up to about 35 miles an hour at Delta Junction there, and associated with this portion of the gradient in that area, but pretty light back up here along the western Arctic coast. And then the closer the isobars are together, that's where the winds are blowing the strongest over at Kaktovik. Have another system here, spread rain up into Kodiak Island. Not all that much rain falling today as compared to the southeast coast, but kind of a continuous light rain at times condition there, and a trough in across the Gulf of Alaska, keeping some moisture down in that area. And then the frontal system here in the low pressure area pushing in toward the eastern Aleutians. And this next one out here may bring a chance of rain or snow to the central areas late tonight as this next one slides off to the east. Rain or snow over the Alaska Peninsula, up Chillicothe Strait, rain or snow as far north as Iliamna. Probably staying mostly rain there for Kodiak, that low pulling off to the west a little bit. So snow levels may fall enough to allow mixed rain and snow all the way down to sea level there. And then a swath of light snow extending back to the northwest, say up towards Unalakleet, where winds are gusting as high as 35 miles an hour out of the east this afternoon. Some light snow and fog currently going on over portions of Kotzebue Sound, Kivalina, and Kotzebue reporting that. And that'll probably continue into the night tonight, but the trough up there along the Brooks Range on the dry side, especially on the north end, but some pretty good winds there, south 30 miles per hour at Anaktuvik. And the next storm, rain, heavy at times, gale force winds, especially along the central and south coast tonight. And even that gradient increasing as the pressures fall with that low center approaching, so those winds may increase and pull the cold air back down into the areas that see the northeast winds, and that's why those snow advisories are out. That'll mostly slide eastward into Canada, so we're going to remain with that frontal boundary along the northern areas there, just south of Juneau, right across the probably the Petersburg area, maybe north of Wrangell, but drying out a little bit over the southern areas. Rain along the coast, yet another front developing and pushing more moisture into the area, so it's going to be a wet 24 to 36 hours here for the southeast coast, especially over the northern areas, and a band of moisture back along the North Gulf Coast, along with an increase in the winds as this thing comes northward, back into the small craft advisories, possibly gale force gusts along the North Gulf Coast areas, but lighter winds back down Kodiak Island. Still a little bit of moisture, giving some light snow over northeast Bristol Bay up into maybe southern Cook Inlet over toward Iliamna Lake, and then just flurries back to the northwest, fair over the interior. But again, those winds continuing, especially at the higher elevations there. So it's going to stay pretty windy over toward Delta Junction here, and really from the eastern Alaska Range all the way up to the eastern Arctic coast and out over the Bering Sea. Here's that next system there. So a little bit of snow. Most of this moisture will stay west of the Pribilofs, but definitely a couple of frontal boundaries swinging into the Aleutians here. This one, rain and snow here, bringing more moisture back into Nikolsky and on Alaska. And the next one, colder air with this one, so that'll be snow coming into Adak and then over toward Atka. And then for Tuesday, we're going to watch a big storm that was off the map on tomorrow's chart come northward tomorrow night. And during the morning hours on Tuesday, it looks like at least gale force winds coming into Kodiak Island with rain heavy at times. Possible area of storm force winds out in advance of that frontal system, which could extend all the way up into the Barren Islands during the day on Tuesday. And this low coming right up to near Sand Point, and actually forecast to continue up into Kuskokwim Bay, so taking a little more of a turn to the northwest. That would be on Wednesday and Wednesday afternoon. Otherwise, still a lot of moisture and southerly flow associated with this system coming to the north, so it's going to keep it on the wet side of rain or snow mixed, or light snow over the inland areas here. But the panhandle drying out a little bit. Still a chance of rain or snow here along this boundary over the northern areas, but staying fair and occasionally breezy over the interior with some clear skies, variable clouds, but dry conditions. All of the moisture and snow will be down here over the southwest areas. Occasional snow for the Pribilofs there, as well as fog, so looks like an IFR day coming up for that area. And gusty northwest winds with a little bit chillier temperatures and snow showers here over the eastern and central Aleutians. Today, temperatures were in the lower 40s with a warm spot at Klawock with 43 degrees, 10 degrees cooler up there at Juneau, 21 north winds to 35 there at Skagway, about the same, or 30 degrees over at Cordova, 33 at Whittier. -4 at Gulkana with some fog reported in that location. Some flurries around Northway, 8 below 0, but Delta Junction up to 2 with the wind. -3 at Fairbanks, 33 below at Fort Yukon, and Umiat at -23. Otherwise, Bettles -17, but Huslia at 14. Selawik 16, 3 degrees at Red Dog, -6 up at Barrow, and same thing at Kaktovik. 2 below at Point Hope, and a -12 Tin City. Shishmaref 11 below, 3 at Nome, 0 at Savunga, and mostly in the teens here over the Yukon Delta and Kuskokwim Delta. Holy Cross at 5, 10 degrees at Sleep Mute, 5 also over at McGrath. Notably warmer down here over Bristol Bay in the lower 30s, and then near 40 across the entire Alaska Peninsula on out to Unalaska. A little bit cooler conditions, but not much, into the upper 30s there over the Aleutians. And for the lows tonight, minus teens and 20s over the eastern interior. These more purple shaded areas actually dropping into the mid -30s. Same thing up there on the north slope. Otherwise, warmer here over Bristol Bay, just upper 20s for the lows and upper 30s over the Alaska Peninsula. The southeast coast, cold in the north and warmer in the south. That'll be the temperature profile for tomorrow as well, back into the 40 to 45 degree range here over the southern southeast coast, and then below freezing up over the northern areas, and about the same here in the Aleutians, 30 to 45 or 35 to 45 here for the highs, staying below 0 along the Alaska Range northward up to the Arctic coast, but a little bit milder here out over the west and southwest areas. Flying weather, good VFR through much of the interior tomorrow, all the way from northern Cook Inlet right up to the Arctic coast there, with maybe some lingering marginal stuff here over the eastern interior. That'll be northeast of the Alaska Range or on the northern slopes on up into that area. IFR mostly along and off the coast tomorrow here. Some possible IFR down around Kodiak, and then IFR conditions mostly over the central and southern southeast coast, but marginal VFR possible at any point in the day tomorrow across all of the Panhandle right up to about Yakutat, and then a big area IFR out here over the north central Bering Sea, but just marginal down here for the False Pass, Cold Bay, and Unalaska areas. Passes, just about all of them wide open tomorrow. Anatuvik and Adigan for the Berks Range, good VFR. Ceilings visibility is just about unlimited there. Same thing for the Western Alaska Range, Lake Clark, Merrill, Rainy, all open tomorrow as well. Be windy. Isabel looks pretty good, and even Mentasta should be VFR. Tanita also looking VFR. Portage, possible marginal conditions. Again, I think the greatest threat would be on this eastern entrance, otherwise VFR. Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR. For the freezing levels at the surface now, edging its way northward here into the northern Bering Sea, angling back down across northern Bristol Bay, and then up along the coastline there, cutting across where the Arctic boundary is over here along the Panhandle, and then 2,000 to 4,000 feet on down toward the Dixon Entrance, Queen Charlotte areas. Icing, could be some areas of moderate rime icing here, as high as 12,000 feet from the freezing level here over the south or Iliamna Lake areas, northeast Bristol Bay, southwest part of the state here, and then a batch of that extending all the way into the Panhandle, none up to the north, and just some hit and miss areas out here over the Bering and the Aleutians. Upper level wind flow chart, the main Pacific jet down to the south here, and just a couple of weak disturbances, one in the Gulf, another one up here over the interior, giving some variable clouds and flurries, a little bit stronger one out here over the Aleutians. And for the 9,000 foot winds, kind of a general area, low pressure, troughiness in the Gulf, light east-southeasterlies 10 to 15 over the interior, but picking up here 20 to 35 knots over the northern and central areas, and up to 45 knots just off the eastern Arctic coast. Southeasterlies or south-southeasterlies at about 25 here over the eastern Bering Sea. And this stronger wind condition actually showing up tonight, but that'll be pushing off to the south as that trough moves inland tomorrow. So still catching some 35 knot winds down over the southern Panhandle and dropping back throughout the afternoon. 9,000 foot flow, about the same here. 35 knots across the north central part of the state, as high as 50 knots there off the eastern Arctic coast, but only 15 on the west side. 25 knot winds possibly over the Pribilofs there in advance of this low system. Another low farther out to the west, and again with the front associated with this low, could see 25 knot easterlies develop along the North Gulf Coast and possibly extend into the Kenai Peninsula west of the peninsula, Cook Inlet just 10 to 15 knots, and for the western Alaska Range, and then the strongest winds over the Dixon Entrance area. For turbulence, occasional moderate chop here across the Chukchi Sea, Selawik, eastward, all the way over to about, probably north of Eagle, but then all the way up to the Kaktovik, Barter Island areas, and a little bumpy choppiness all the way down to the northern Panhandle, and again in the southern area, especially early in the day. Not too bad out here over the Bering Sea, pretty smooth in most areas, as well as the southwest interior. And after the break, I'll be back with a marine forecast.
We've just driven through 10 months of winter. The daylight's coming back, it's warming up. Everybody's got a little bit of cabin fever. And what do we throw in front of them? 18 hours of daylight, a pair of skis, and some fun activities.
Nana Nordic is the story of what happens when cross-country skiers from all over, Olympians, World Cup racers, university and high school coaches, share their sport with remote Alaska.
In 2011, I finished my season and I had 2 days to pack up for the trip. And to be honest, I didn't know what I was really getting myself into.
After the ski program left last year, the kids wanted to continue skiing and they missed not having that activity.
300 pairs of boots, poles, and skis were sent to the far north, above the Arctic Circle, to Kotzebue and the 10 surrounding villages. Located in northwest Alaska, the Inupiaq have lived in what is called the Nana region for more than 10,000 years. Transportation is by snow machine and airplane. Nordic skiing has not been a part of this northern culture, but that is changing. Despite their remoteness, the Nana region villages are busy with the activity of daily life. And for children, school.
Good morning, Katsu School. The temperature outside today is 14 below zero. Today, Nana Nordic will be visiting all the gym classes. Now on to your morning announcements.
The month of April, with 18 hours of sunlight, is perfect for cross-country skiing. Volunteer coaches taught the students a new way to enjoy the world just outside their door.
The volunteers come from all sorts of backgrounds. We have recreational skiers, we have competitive skiers, and we also have Olympians.
Good afternoon. We just flew in from Anchorage and we're here with... It's really awesome to see them take up something new that may be challenging at first and just to succeed at it, and they have a lot of fun together, and it's something that's real positive and it's really healthy for them.
Our kids are really active and they enjoy being active. They would much rather do that than sit at home playing video games if there's somebody offering it.
Skiing feels kind of like swimming because you could feel the smooth air going across your face.
The students spent 5 days learning to ski, during school and after school. The emphasis was on fun and exploring the land.
The kids respond really well to skiing. I mean, a lot of them are maybe a little timid, a little afraid at the start. They learn that they're capable of doing these things that they didn't think they were capable of doing before.
You go right, left, and you can go as fast as you can, as slow as you can, and you could take your time.
We would like to have skiing as a school activity. It would be great to have a ski club up here, and we love to ski, and hopefully the communities enjoy skiing as well.
40 coaches, 1,500 students, 100 adults, 440 hours of coaching. Nana Nordic's goal is simple: introduce students and communities to cross-country skiing, a fitting sport for the place they call home and the world beyond.
Welcome back. Well, southwesterlies 20 to 25 knots here out along the coast. Otherwise, up to 25 knots over the southern inside waters from the south, and north to northeast 25 knots here for Lynn Canal Glacier Bay, maybe down into Stevens Passage. And then for Tuesday, that'll swing around to the southeast up in that area, and otherwise variable to east or southeast winds at about 15, so pretty light. And then look for a gradual increase in these winds throughout the afternoon on Tuesday, especially along the north coast here, coming up to small craft advisory levels, otherwise down to the south 20 knots. And for the North Gulf Coast, small craft advisories for those easterlies tomorrow. Kind of a variable wind pattern here across Kodiak Island, varying from northeast over Shelikof Strait to southwest there over these areas, northeast for Cook Inlet, but only 10 knots north of the Forelands. And then for Tuesday, that next storm coming up, look for just about storm force winds to come in across Kodiak Island and shift northward into the Barren Islands here, as high as 50 knots, northeasterlies 45 knots for Shelikof Strait, gales south of the Forelands 20 knots, higher gusts to the north. Prince William Sound northeast coming up to 25 with higher gusts and whole gales out here for the North Gulf Coast. For the Bristol Bay area, light easterlies tomorrow, southeast at about 20 here for the peninsula. And taking a look at Tuesday, northeast 30 knots for Bristol Bay, almost a gale there, coming back around northwest to southeast here at 25 knots across the peninsula. And then that low center coming right across this area during the daytime, and so these winds will become westerly as high as 30 knots by about this time Tuesday and gradually shift northward. Otherwise, starting the day out kind of variable, or actually easterlies, maybe at 30 or 35 knots. And out in the Aleutians, light winds here through the central and western areas, and then some small craft advisories, kind of variable here, 15 to 25 knots, both on speed and direction. And for Tuesday, westerlies at about 20 out here, and then small craft advisories everywhere else, more of a northwest direction toward Adak, and then west becoming southwest across the Fox Islands with seas 10 to 12 feet. Bering Sea, small craft advisories, St. Matthew Island, right up to the Bering Strait and down to Nunivak Island there for Kuskokwim Bay, northeast at 20. The Pribilofs, easterlies at right around 15 knots. And then for the Tuesday outlook, 25 knot northeasterlies here, mostly from Nunivak Island southward, otherwise 20 knots on the north side. Small craft advisories continuing across St. Lawrence Island, right down into the St. Matthew Marine area, southeast 15, that weak low hanging back west of the Pribilofs. For the east side of the Arctic coast, small craft advisories 25 to 30 knots, possible gale force gusts there as high as 50 miles an hour toward Kaktovik. Lighter northeast winds, only 5 to 15 here from Tin City all the way up to Point Lay. And then for Tuesday, easterlies 20 to 30 knots, strongest here on the east side again. Not much change on the west side, about 15 knots more or less for all those areas. And for tonight again, winter weather advisories out for areas here for those gusty east winds. Staying windy here over the eastern Alaska Range, Delta Junction areas, and then this front edging northward, bringing small craft advisories back into the North Gulf Coast. And gales here along this front and in advance coming into the southern and central coast with rain heavy at times again, and a snow advisory, winter weather advisory for as much as 4 to 8 inches of snow over the next 24 hours here over the northern southeast coast. More of a heavy wet type of snow south of Juneau, mixed rain and snow over the central areas, and then some moisture extending most along the coast into the south offshore here, right into Kodiak Island, a little bit up in toward Iliamna and maybe King Salmon, but these snow amounts will be quite light, staying breezy and mostly dry here over the interior areas, maybe a few fluff flurries there over the eastern interior. Snow out here over the Bering Sea looks like it'll edge eastward on Tuesday, so it looks kind of snowy and foggy there for the Pribilofs. Gusty northwest winds and snow showers as this big storm pulls northward right up to the Alaska Peninsula, so gales becoming storms ahead of this front, lifting northward throughout the afternoon hours and into the evening, and then looks like a pretty good Chinook wind possibly developing here over southern Alaska late Tuesday night and Wednesday. Have a great evening.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.